What's up, YouTube? I'm here to talk about how food is a very fun reminder that nobody knows how to be a human ever. There's not a point of being a human, in my personal experience and from people I've talked to about their experiences, that's all like, yeah, this moment, I figured it out perfectly. I know how to be a human from this moment going forward. I figured shit out. That doesn't exist. And I've really wanted that point to exist. I've really wanted there to be some sort of user manual to being a human that would tell me things like food and how to feed myself perfectly for my most physically, mentally, spiritually healthy body. And essentially, in my experience, I used food as a way to control my insecurity about dying and being a human and not knowing how to live correctly and perfectly and not being able to control the fact that this shit is all temporary. And because of knowing how important food is and noticing how different foods make me feel and how relevant food seems to be, which is a synonym for important, Annie, I made all of the food rules that I could ever think of for myself about when to eat and what to eat and how much to eat and what combinations to eat and blah 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 blah. Name a food rule. A lot of people have made them. The more people I talk to, the more convinced I am that everyone, everything's a spectrum, everyone has some sort of disordered eating and body dysmorphia, because it's fucking weird to be in a body and to put food in this body that then keeps this body going. It's fucking weird. And we're all like, oh no, food's normal because it is this thing that we all need every day. Okay, that fasting is a separate conversation. Breatharian people who are just like, we all need food every day, and so it's not a big deal, it's food. And also, we're literally putting something inside of our body that then is what our body uses to continue to exist. That's pretty fucking vulnerable. I have a theory also that everything is about food and fucking biologically. That's why, that's how this body got to be here and is still here. And that's how your body is there watching this. And so with fucking too, that's another great reminder that nobody knows how to be human. This video is about food and how there's so much information out right now about different ways to eat. People saying you have to be vegan, you have to be paleo, you have to go keto, carnivore. That's the one. Carnivore is the only one I haven't played with because I like fiber. And also, having done the really angry vegan game, what I believe on this side of it is that, or like on this part of the spiral circle in my journey of it, is that my body has enough to figure out about how it feels with certain foods and at certain times and in certain whatevers. That's plenty for me to be dealing with here to understand. For me to say that I have any idea how another body feels when it consumes different foods is mean. That's wrong, and that's mean, because I can't feel anything inside another person's body and they can't feel anything inside mine. And so then this whole thing of like, oh, how do we feed ourselves and how do we human perfectly? It is an individual journey for cliches that are cliches for reasons. Everyone needs to figure it out for themselves because people are going to need different foods and at different times. In my experience, at least. To like ground it in my personal experience with food, I went hardcore into the vegan game and the raw vegan game and the fruitarian game, so I can talk about the fruitarian concepts about how humans are frugivores and how we do have a species-specific diet because all other animals have a species-specific diet and no one cooks their food, and really relevant things. And I can also talk about paleo and needing animal products, eggs, fish for B12 because supplemental B12 versus B12 that's actually in something are processed very differently. And there's so many ways to get in debates about food things. And what's hilarious to me also is that I've met people on both ends of the spectrum who say the same shit about completely different things. I've met fruitarians and I've met carnivores who claim totally genuinely that that way of eating is what solved their literally everything. Like some huge transformational story with their health with that way of eating, and eating only fruit and eating only meat are about as different as I can think of. And so what I come to from that is that fruit worked for that person and meat worked for that person. And rather than getting all of this like, well, what is the way everyone's supposed to eat and how do we do this? And for me, wanting to make food rules and say, oh, I'm gonna be perfectly happy and never die if I eat exactly this way and control this shit super rigidly, which is just a projection of mental health shit. If you've ever done that with food, maybe ask yourself, are you sad or anxious about something? Because in my experience, that's what's going on. Woo! I care a lot about food distribution. I do care about food for health and mental health and how that impacts a body. I find that stuff fascinating. And also, there's a barrier to entry for that that's not fair, to not have food distributed to everyone. And part of there's this disconnect of people who don't have food and then people who have all the time in the world to get into disordered eating and disordered relationships with food. And there's no need for that divide to be there. Like, so disordered stuff I believe is gonna come up, like I said, because it's weird to be in a body. People being hungry, we're choosing collectively as humans to have that be what the world is. We've distributed Wi-Fi, we've distributed cigarettes, soda, so many things when we have all said collectively, hey, let's get this to all humans, we've done it. So the whole, anything about people saying food is too hard to distribute, like fuck you, that's such bullshit. Like maybe you could like maybe convince me about certain produce things, certain perishables that are harder, and also you can get bananas, peanut butter, oats. We could choose to have those be spread out to everyone and not have food deserts. I'm getting political here. Okay, nobody knows how to be human. Nobody knows how to feed themselves. There's not a correct diet. And while it's interesting to study and research diets, and while that is a part of food distribution, I'm talking to the camera to shift the conversation from what is the correct way to feed somebody, which is relevant, I get it, for people being like, oh, that kid's feeding their baby, like people get that they're feeding their baby a vegan diet, they're feeding their baby meat. How could you do that? It's like, I don't know, because they're doing what they believe is right to do, and what I believe is right to do is to distribute food to everyone, because food is a basic human right. And people who are hungry, which can also happen through disordered eating, if you're always thinking about food, restrict, binge, cycle, then you're putting all of your mental energy on food. And then that takes so much energy away from literally everything else. Can you imagine people who don't have access to food, who are putting understandably emotional and physical and all their energy towards feeding themselves? What could those people be doing with that time and with that energy if they had food guaranteed to them? Who knows? They could be doing anything. They could be contributing in ways that would help even more people. And we're holding all of ourselves back by holding food back from people? What the fuck, humans? We don't know how to be humans. We don't know how to feed ourselves. And what we do know is that we need food. So starting from that baseline, it's getting a little angry, Annie. Starting from that baseline, let's give food to people. And then we can all laugh about how ridiculous it is that people debate the perfect way to eat, because no matter how we feed ourselves, we're gonna die. It's a sad ending, Annie. I've said my name 3 times. That's a lot of third person stuff. Food is vulnerable to talk about because people are like, oh, you're telling people, who knows. Let's talk about food more. Food, eating, pooping, digestion. We all have intestines. Why do we act like there's any other thing going on here? I don't understand it. Just like I don't understand how to be a human. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being you.